Welcome to this explainer. I'm so thrilled you're here because today we're looking at one of the absolute most fascinating paradoxes in modern finance. You look at the world's richest people, guys like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Warren Buffett, and it seems crazy, but they actually don't own much of anything. Well, at least not in the way you and I usually think about ownership. Sure, on paper, their net worth sits in the hundreds of billions, but if you actually peek at their personal tax returns, a lot of times, they look completely indistinguishable from everyday middle-class citizens. Today, we're going to uncover exactly how that whole thing works. Okay, let's dive right into this, because the reality here is staggering. $0. A major leak of IRS data recently revealed that, in certain years, the absolute richest individuals on the entire planet paid exactly $0 in federal income tax. I mean, just think about that for a second. Zero. How is that even legally possible? Are the scales just totally tipped, or do these folks simply operate by a completely different rulebook that, the rest of us were just never taught? Well, today we are cracking open that exact rulebook to show you the specific strategies the top 1% use to protect and just exponentially multiply their wealth. So, we're going to break this all down systematically into 5 steps. First, the $0 tax bill. Second, the buy, borrow, die loop. Third, the ghost asset network. Fourth, phantom losses. And finally, the millionaire mindset shift. All right, let's kick things off with part 1, the $0 tax bill and how the 1% pays literally nothing. Moving right along to section 2. This is the buy, borrow, die loop. Seriously, this is the ultimate wealth strategy. Now, to really grasp this, we basically have to unlearn how we view making money. The normal path, the one most of us are on, forces you to work a job, earn a salary, get taxed heavily up to 40%, and then, just spend whatever's left. It's actually highly inefficient. But the billionaire path, it does the exact opposite. They completely bypass those massive salaries and simply buy assets instead. We're talking stocks, prime real estate, private companies. And understanding this strategy completely flips how you view wealth generation. It creates this endless financial loop. Okay, so here's how the actual mechanics of that loop play out. Step 1 is buy. As those assets grow in value, their net worth just skyrockets. But here's the kicker. You only pay tax when you sell an asset. Since they never sell, well, there's no tax, right? So you might be wondering, how do they actually buy groceries or, mega mansions? That brings us to step 2. Borrow. They basically use their stock portfolio as collateral to take out massive, super low interest bank loans. And because a loan is legally considered debt, not income, the IRS literally cannot tax it. It is 100% tax-free cash. Boom! Then, step 3 is die. They pass the assets on, often with what's called a reset or stepped-up tax basis, which basically wipes the slate totally clean for the next generation. All right, section 3, the ghost asset network. Basically, hiding in plain sight. So, if these individuals own all these massive assets, why does literally almost nothing show up under their actual personal names in public records? The answer is shell companies. It's kind of like a giant set of Russian nesting dolls. An asset is owned by an LLC, which is then owned by another LLC, which ultimately sits inside some private trust. And they're usually registered in privacy-focused havens like Wyoming or the Cayman Islands. These legal layers act as a massive financial fortress. If a billionaire ever gets sued, the lawyers dig in and find that technically, on paper, the billionaire owns absolutely zero assets. It all really boils down to this famous philosophy from John D. Rockefeller: own nothing but control everything. Even without their personal name on the deed to a property, they still maintain absolute power through these trusts, while entirely removing any personal liability. It's really just a masterful way to protect wealth across multiple generations. Which leads us perfectly into section 4, phantom losses and write-offs. Let's talk about the incredible power of depreciation. This brings us to some of the most extravagant, crazy spending habits of the 1%. I mean, have you ever wondered why they seem so obsessed with buying $50 million private jets or massive super yachts? On the surface, it looks like just the ultimate flex, right? But financially, actually, scratch that. Strategically, it is a highly calculated tax shield. The secret sauce here is a tax superpower called depreciation. The law actually allows businesses to write off the value of a physical asset as it suffers standard wear and tear. So when a billionaire buys that shiny new private jet, the jet technically drops in value over time. And on paper, that drop is recorded as a massive financial loss. So here is the ultimate loophole. They can use these paper losses or phantom losses to cancel out the real actual cash profit that their businesses are making. So at the end of the day, they get a luxury jet and the government lowers their tax bill because their business supposedly lost money. Crazy, right? And finally, Section 5, the Millionaire Mindset Shift. Let's talk about changing the blueprint entirely. You know, when you see all these loopholes laid out like this, it's really easy to just throw your hands up and think the system is totally broken. But it's impartially just operating on two completely different sets of rules. Think about it. The consumer is entirely focused on working for a paycheck, trapped in that relentless cycle of earning, getting heavily taxed, and then spending. But the owner doesn't focus on paychecks at all. They focus entirely on owning things that work for them. So to really escape the traditional financial matrix, you absolutely have to shift your mindset from trading your time for money to acquiring and leveraging assets. Which leaves us with this final, genuinely crucial question, especially based on everything we've uncovered today. Are you building your own blueprint? Knowing exactly how the ultra-wealthy use legal loopholes, strategic debt, and hard assets to their advantage, it completely changes your perspective on what wealth actually is, doesn't it? It's really not about how much cash you have sitting in a checking account. It's about what you control and exactly how you structure it. I really hope this explainer gave you a whole new lens through which to view money. Think about how you can start to shift from a consumer mindset to an owner mindset in your own life. Keep learning, keep building, and until next time, thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the true rules of wealth.